Hey everybody, today we're going to talk about low-level adventures and why I think they're the best kind of adventures. Today on Greyhawk Grognard. Hey everybody. So today I wanted to discuss why I feel that low-level adventures are really underrated in a lot of ways, especially old-school low-level adventures, because they really do pose unique challenges for players who might not be used to playing characters who don't have a lot of wealth or magic or hit points or anything like that. Especially in today's world with 5th edition, even beginner starter characters have a bunch of powers and abilities, and they have more hit points and so forth than they did in previous editions. And I really think we lose something when that happens, because that initial time when your character has just been rolled up and all you have is like one weapon and one spell and a handful of coins, and you don't really have a lot of powers and abilities. I really think that stretches you as a player in a good way, because it forces you into more of a problem-solving mode. It forces you into more of a role-playing mode in order to get around the obstacles that are in the adventure. And we see this with a lot of Funhouse dungeons, where there's a lot of puzzle solving and trap solving and so forth. But we really see it in some of the early published 1st and 2nd level adventures. So you have things like, Village of Hamlet and Against the Cult of the Reptile God and Secret of Bone Hill. These are all low-level adventures intended for 1st and 2nd level characters. And generally speaking, they start off with a village. And you have Hamlet, you have Restonford, you have Orlane in the 3 modules, and the village setting really gives the 1st level characters an opportunity to really shine, because in a village setting you don't really need to rely on fighting and spell casting and stuff like that. It's all about interacting with the NPCs. It's all about role playing. And for a 1st level character, that is your big advantage, is that you can role play just as well as if you've got a 10th level magic user. That you can use that role playing as a player skill to get around obstacles, to find information, to get to where you need to go. In a way that you kind of, when you're higher level or mid-level, because you have more options in terms of combat and spellcasting, you tend to go to those first. And I'm not saying that universally. Obviously, there's role-playing even at high levels. But at low levels, you're really compelled to do that kind of role-playing, and it really changes the nature of the game in a way I really enjoy. Same thing with puzzle solving. When you are high level, you've got a lot of spells that you can throw at things. You've got a lot of magic items. You've got rings. You've got levitation. You got fly. You can avoid things with stuff that you've got, with equipment and powers and so forth. When you're 1st or 2nd level, you obviously don't have that. So you really need to be inventive in terms of, okay, how can I get across this, this raging river in the dungeon? I've got a 50-foot rope and a couple of iron spikes. What do I do? Then you have to kind of picture it in your mind, and you work it out and you describe it to the DM. And I think that is an art that you really lose in as your character goes higher in level, because you have other alternatives. It's kind of, you don't have to be as creative at mid-level or high level, because you've got stuff to make up for the fact that that you need to go across things. So rather than trying to hook up some improvised pitons and rope to cross a gap, you're going to use your ring of flying or whatever you have. And which again is not to say that you can't be creative, or that nobody is creative as soon as they hit 5th or 6th level. It all stops. But because you have all those alternatives, you're not compelled to be as creative as you might have if you were a second level character trying to do the same thing. And it works the same thing with monsters. Because a lot of times, especially in these high-level modules, you'll see, like in this one, in one of my favorite modules, the Village of Hamlet, at the end you've got Lareth the Beautiful, who's a 4th level cleric, I believe, and he's got a Staff of Striking. He could really take out a low-level party if they're not careful. And the way you get around that is not to be better at combat, but you roleplay with him. You interact with him. You infiltrate into the temple structure through him, and that is really one of the ways that a low-level party can go into Temple of Elemental Evil, for example, is because you're not going in there busting down doors and throwing spells around and hacking away at everything you find. The idea, at least in my mind, the optimal way to play that module is to infiltrate into the temple as pretend that you're joining them. You're joining one of the factions. You want to work for Lareth, bring me in, as a minion. And then you can kind of work out what's going on from the inside. You're trying to work through all the different politics of the different factions and everything. And then you finally have enough knowledge that you can act strategically and hit things in specific points, or maybe you can even try to turn people onto your side or whatever. Or you go out to Nulb and you get the good people who are waiting to help you and you bring them in, once you know what's going on. And that is something that you can do as a 2nd or 3rd level character. Whereas if you're a 10th level lord, your first instinct might just be bust down the door and start hacking away at stuff, which, nothing particularly wrong with that. But again, it is an option that you don't have early on, and thus you are kind of guided towards a style of play that encourages creativity, role-playing, and problem-solving. So anyway, that's just a thought I wanted to share out there, because I know a lot of people, there's a little bit of scorn towards first level characters, especially in D&D. Like the first level magic user, the joke is, he casts his spell and then he just sits around in the back of the party for the rest of the adventure, which I think is a terrible way to look at things, because that one spell that you have at first level, yeah, that's the only one you do have, true, but it's not the only thing that you can do. A first level magic user should be the one who is being the most creative and the most problem solving and trying to do the most role playing, because again, he doesn't have a lot of options. So rather than just sitting back at the table going like this, you should be vocal and out there and pushing and trying to think of new and unique ways to think outside the box and help the rest of the party, because yes, you have your one spell, but you have also got your ability to role play and problem solve. So anyway, those are my thoughts on this. I would love to hear your thoughts on this topic below. What do you think of low-level adventures? Do you agree with my thesis that low-level characters kind of encourage role-playing because they have fewer options to do anything else? And if you liked this video, please hit the bell, subscribe, check out the Patreon, check out, buy something on the store, hit the blog. There's always new stuff, always new downloads and stuff like that. So anyway, love to hear from you below, and have a great day. That kind of means I could run Tomb of Horrors with first level characters. Maybe I could try that at my next con.